Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast. My name is Chris Berry, and I am going to be your host for today. Joining us, we have Sharon Mischio. Sharon, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great, enjoying my Friday morning. Excited to chat about some coaching businesses. So,
Yeah,
before we get into the details of your business and kind of the ins and outs, can you just share with everyone that's either watching or listening what you coach people on?
sure. I am a certified parent coach. I was a public school teacher for over 16 years and have two adult kids of my own. So I've got lots of background experience, but I'm certified in parent coaching. So I bridge the gap. I help parents bridge the gap from where they are now to where they want to be as parents.
Mm,
And we use a family systems approach. We look at every family is so different. It's an actual living system. And so we talk with parents and really learn about their unique situation, and we go from there instead of sort
mm,
of this one size fits all advice that's all over social media and all that. So we can really
yeah.
dig down and get things um, flowing and a much more connected family environment a lot faster than reading 10 books and then figuring out none of them work for your family.
Yeah. And what made you get into this space? Obviously, you shared the background of you being a teacher and then kids yourself, but like why make this your full-time profession?
Yeah. I actually sought coaching when our daughter was a preteen.
Mm,
She went through a really rough patch, and therefore we were sort of going and through a rough patch. And even as a teacher, I and all my background in child development and everything like that, I felt like I didn't have the tools that I really needed to get through that as smoothly as I wanted to. And so I sought coaching and it really changed my outlook. And I was and the way that both my husband and I communicated with our daughter and were able to listen and tweak some small things. And it made such a huge difference
mm,
for our daughter and our whole family, quite frankly. And sort of ever since that, it's been not, I mean, every family has its ups and downs, and of course, but really like we're incredibly close, and she's a thriving adult now. So it changed our life, and I realized I would love to help people do that, and I've got a lot of the background, and then getting certified to be a coach kind of tied it all together.
yeah, that's awesome. And as you're coaching people, is there a specific area or what should it ages of whether it be, preteens, teens, even adult children? Are there different areas that you kind of focus on, or is it all aspects of it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It really is all aspects because as a parent coach, we're coaching the parent. And so we're helping the parent understand number one, their why their children are doing what they're doing, but
Mhm.
also why and how they're reacting the way they do, and helping them really come up with their own solutions on how they can change small things about the way they're reacting and understanding about their children that can make such a huge difference. So
Yeah.
really, um, a well-trained and a certified from a good rigorous program coach can really help a parent of children of any age.
Yeah. And the reason I asked is because, first of all, just to get an understanding of what you do, as I reflect on, all the other parent coaches out there, I feel that it's a very, very heavy focus on the early stage, which obviously, yes, you're spending more time with them and everything like that. But I even think of people that have grown adults that
Yeah,
for different reasons, it's not like the kids don't love mom and dad. They just frankly can't stand spending time with mom and dad because they bug the crap out of them or
right.
they trying to still control them even though they're
Yes.
adult children, all of these different things. So that's even something I was really curious about because it's not just it's also a much different relationship. And that's
Yeah.
even something
Oh, yeah.
interesting, even I'll say for like me and my family. I know it's not like I'm super old. And there's this period of I have my younger siblings who are making that transition from, being the teens into leaving the house and they're, on their own and everything. It's this weird, like giving up of
Yes.
responsibility or power from the parents. So,
It's huge. And, I've definitely had some parents that I've coached through things like their children not wanting to go to college when the parents were very adamant that, this is the path you're going to follow in this family, and talking about why do you think you feel that way about your child? What do you think is, making, you feel that way? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how it might look if your child chose not to go to college.
Mm,
And, you know, are you more worried about what other people think? I mean, we can get into so many things and yeah, it's tough, for us parents when the kids leave, when they
mm,
fly the nest. And so there's so much really great stuff that a coach can help a parent with and adult kids too. Parents want to also chime in about how they're raising their kids
mm.
sometimes when really they might want to just take a step back and do some listening
Yeah,
and do some learning from their own kids.
that is true.
Mhm.
So you've been doing this. You've obviously worked with a bunch of parents. What have been some of the favorite parts of owning your business, and what have been some of the biggest challenges of owning your business?
Yeah. I mean, I think, any coach will tell you when you get an email or a text from one of your clients saying, "Oh my gosh, XYZ happened today and I'm so thrilled and I had the tools to deal with it,"
Yeah.
or just things like that. When you hear from people or when you have a breakthrough, with a client. And so or if you get a referral for a new client or someone, just that feeling like, "Oh my gosh, I can hopefully really help this person change and make a difference in their lives and especially in their children's lives." And so you feel
Mhm.
like you're changing the world in a positive way. And
Yeah.
then I think the challenges are a lot of coaches have a specialty, like, parent coaches, a lot of us are former teachers and things like
Mm,
that. So we're not marketers. We're not
mm,
that the nitty-gritty of getting your name out there and getting business is not
mm.
what we love. We just want to do the helping.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's, for a lot of us. I have a cohort of coaches that we meet every month and we talk a lot about that.
Yeah. It is a very common theme that I see with
Mhm.
coaches is I love what I do. I love coaching, but I can't stand generating the leads, trying to close
Yes,
them, doing this, the
yes,
admin, the taxes, the all of these different things.
yes,
So without going too much on sore subjects, but it is something obviously that is important for number one, running a coaching business and keeping it going. But then
right.
number two, just even an aspect that we need to focus on is lead generation. So how are you currently generating leads or just people into your business?
Yeah. So currently referrals are huge for me. And just asking clients who that I'm wrapping up. Because when you coach someone, I have some clients that have been ongoing for years due to different circumstances. But a lot of clients, we can do 5 sessions, 10 sessions, and then be done
Mm,
because we've worked through and they've gained the tools to do this on their own for any new challenge that comes up.
yep.
Um, and so when we are kind of wrapping up, then I'll ask, you know, would you be willing to share your experience on any Facebook groups you're in or social media or anything like that? So that, and then I do some LinkedIn. I mostly try to just share information on LinkedIn
Hmm.
and, um, just sort of as a service almost. And then once in a while, I'll get someone who, comes that way. So those are
Yeah.
sort of 2 main.
Okay. And as you're doing the referrals, you mentioned that, it's as you're kind of wrapping up, you ask for a testimonial or a referral too. What's kind of that process? Because obviously there are other ways to generate leads, right, and people into your business, but referrals can be a very powerful way if you really deliver for your clients, you do well for them and everything. So what is kind of your approach? And is it, as you said, the very end? Is it right after somebody gets a win? Is it, do you just say, hey, would you be, is there anybody how do you frame that?
Yeah, I usually wait till closer to the end when we really have, establishing a really trustful relationship
Mm,
between coach and client is huge.
yeah.
And by the time you've done 5 sessions or 10 sessions with somebody, you
Yeah.
really do, if you know what you're doing and you're open and honest and empathetic, you can create a really good feeling of trust between the two of you. And
Yeah.
so after that is when I personally feel much more comfortable saying, hey, um, I run my business on referrals. I would love it if you would consider writing one
Mm,
and putting it where you meet people,
yeah.
whether that's your Instagram, whether that's, depending.
Yeah. Understood. Okay. So you get people in from these different mediums, right? Referrals, you talk LinkedIn, all of these different things. Now you have a person that comes to you and says, hey, I'm struggling with this. I'm facing this. I'm interested in learning more about your services. What is the
Mhm.
process that you take them through to turn from an interested party into a paying client of yours?
Yeah. So I do a 30-minute free session
Mm,
where we talk about kind of what their issues are. Um, I call it, they get, there's like a 10-minute venting. There's a few minutes where I talk about if I think that they're a good fit for coaching. Um, Sometimes I have to say, the thing you're telling me about is really better suited for therapy.
mm,
And legally, I can't, I'm not a trained therapist. I'm not a licensed therapist. So
yeah.
therapy is about talking what happened in your past and working through that. Coaching is about, you might want to talk about that a little bit and validate it, but then it's about moving forward.
Mm,
So if the issue is something that they can move forward on, while sometimes going back to the past to be like, this might be why you're reacting this way because this happened when you were a child.
yep.
That's okay to talk about that. But then, yeah.
Okay. So walking them through, giving that free 30-minute session, and
Mm,
ultimately just coming to the end of, hey, here's where you are now. Here's where you want to be. Like, what are the best steps for you? And that's one thing I appreciate about what you just shared. It's not just you're like, oh yeah, come in, I can help you. If you really
yeah.
can't help them, sometimes like, look, this isn't us working together isn't going to be the best thing for you right now. You
Right.
need a therapy, and then let's go ahead and do that once you've been able
Yeah.
to handle these things.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
So you go through all of those steps with them. They're like, yes, I'm excited. Let's get moving forward together. They get started. What are some of the whether it be strategies that you employ or things that you do in order to two parts? Number one, keep people happy and enjoying the process. Enjoying the process caveat to it. I think you can probably know what I mean by that. But number two, will get them success. So, what are some things that you do in order to keep people happy in the process and then also get them success?
hmm You know, when we're meeting, I offer my complete attention. I'm present. I then do a follow-up afterwards,
Mm,
and
yeah.
that I've gotten a lot of feedback on. Often the follow-up has links to different things we've talked about,
Mm,
or, if we get into, oh, you might be interested in reading this book, or this book has a certain section, like, I'm gonna just let you know what page it's on, but here's the link to Audible if you want to listen, or here's the,
mm,
different websites, things like that, we talked about this. I found this really cool article. It only takes 5 minutes to read. So I
mm,
try to really tailor my feedback into exactly what we talked about. I recap it and then add some value. So that value
mm,
added that person knows, like, wow, Sharon knows, really listened to what I was saying and gave me
mm,
something to think about and ponder this week, and something. Then I list out the things we agreed that they would try so that they
mm.
can
Okay.
refer back to that.
Yeah. And this, we'll call it customized feedback tips, however we want to frame it. This is on the follow up, or is this at the end of the call, like when you're wrapping up with them?
That's on the follow-up.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
essentially, having that whole meeting, and then at the end, it's like you're sending them, whether it be an email or text, whatever medium it is,
Yeah.
like, hey, Bobby Klein, it was great meeting with you today. Here's what we discussed. One, two, three. Here are the
Yep.
action items. And here's a couple of things that came to mind based on what you shared with me. So it's not like it was something that was explicitly stated on it, but they're
Right.
like, oh, wow, like she went above and beyond. Like we said we're only going to do this, but now she came in ahead and gave this. That's essentially what you're referring to that
Yes.
you do, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like it. Well,
Yeah.
sweet. Well, this has been awesome. I know that I could probably talk to you. I know before the call we started talking about all different things. So we could
Yeah.
probably keep talking for hours. But
Exactly.
to keep it curt for everyone that is watching here, if anybody really resonated with either your message and the stuff that you're sharing, or whether they have someone themselves or somebody else that they're like, look, I think that getting coaching in this area would be really beneficial. What is the best way for people to get in communication with you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's parentpartnercoaching.com. And there's a spot on there where there's a link where they can sign up through email.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for a 30-minute call. And,
Perfect.
I'm not about pressuring anyone. I'm just about listening and seeing if it's a good fit.
Absolutely. I like it. Well, Sharon, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I look forward to chatting more in the future.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Absolutely. So, everyone, that is going to conclude this episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast. I hope that you were able to get as much value as I did out of this episode. Two things that really stood out to me. Number one, that she mentioned before, is building that relationship with the client, right? And she talked about empathy. She talked about really getting to know them, not just on like a surface level. How can we really understand this person, the struggles that they're facing, help them achieve their desired outcome? And it was referenced in two different ways, or we should say with the outcome of why we want to go ahead and do that. It was talking about in regards to asking for referrals, right? It was, okay, that's going to be one of the best times. But you can also see the way that she framed it too. It wasn't just about asking for referrals. It's how can I build that relationship with the person because I genuinely care about them. I genuinely want them to go ahead and be successful. So that's one big nugget I took away that I enjoyed from what Sharon was explaining. And then number two is also being present, right? It's not just, okay, in, out, check box, check box, check box. Okay, cool. You're good. Okay, awesome. Okay, I'll see you next week. No, it's like, let me actually be present. Let me understand this person, who they are. And then that little thing, because I'm sure, don't get me wrong, it takes time and effort from Sharon, but I don't think it's going to take her hours and hours of time to go and add this little customized feedback, but it makes such a big difference with the clients that she's working with. So those are two major things that really stood out to me that I enjoyed from what Sharon explained. Once again, I hope that you got as much value as I did out of this episode of the podcast. If you did like this episode, make sure to go ahead and like it. If you are not subscribed, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast.